Hello and welcome to Just Films and That. This is the podcast that celebrates films that we think might be underrated, underappreciated, or we perhaps just wanted to talk about them. I'm the host for this week, Josh Hallam, and I'm joined as ever by Alice Oliver. Alice Oliver, say hello to the lovely people at home.
Hello there, lovely people at home. How are you today, Josh?
I am wonderful. How are you?
Very well, very well. Always excited to talk about films, so I've come to the right place.
Yeah, it's one of the places to do it, if any. Yeah. See you rocking the bandana there.
Yeah, I know, my hair's just getting a bit unruly. I've got to keep it up my beautiful face, so everyone can see me. It's a podcast, so you can't see me, but in the social media photos, you'll be getting a lovely treat, I tell you.
And we've always said the key to good audio is keeping your hair out of your face.
Oh, exactly. Number one rule.
Anyway, so speaking of rocking the bandana, segueing in seamlessly.
That's perfect,
to our guest. We are joined by our very good friend Harris, who is from Three From Above. Harris, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Yeah, not too bad.
Yeah, very good, very good. So, you are from the band Three From Above, which I believe is a film reference. Am I right?
You are correct, yes.
Alice, do you know what it's from?
Nah, no idea. Is that bad? Is it like proper obvious as well?
If it's not Grease 2 or Speed 2, you won't get it, will you?
Dunno, yeah. I mean, it sounds warlike. Because like Three From Above, are we getting attacked from above or something?
And now extrapolate that out. The word wars to. Think of the most famous wars in films.
The First World War and the Second World War.
Not real wars.
Not real wars.
Think of the most famous fake wars.
Oh, the Star Wars.
Yeah,
Of course. Oh, okay. So it's from one of the films, I take it. Is it a quote?
Very true. Yes. So basically, it's pretty much a throwaway line. It's not even like really important. It's so insignificant. But I think it was me and Tom, the singer. We were at a party and we just decided to start band. Oh, that's right. We got asked to play a gig, even though it was just asked me and Tom. And then we weren't a band. We weren't actually a thing. So we just had to just come up with all these ideas within like 2 weeks. So it's actually come up with a set list and to figure out what genre we are. And then we thought, well, we probably should do a band name, really, shouldn't we? So, and then being that we're all huge Star Wars fanatics, we just decided, what could we be? There's three of us in this band. And then I don't know why it is Three From Above. There's no sort of biblical reference to it or anything. There's nothing like anything like that. It just felt right. At 2 a.m. when you're smashed on beer.
Oh, there you go. Which Star Wars film is it from?
Return of the Jedi.
Okay, that's is that the third lot of the original three from the good films?
The third of the good ones.
The third of the good ones. Yes,
I think I'd put it up there as my fourth favourite.
Yeah.
Of all 9 films, maybe fifth actually, but it's my least favourite of the original trilogy.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
I have a soft spot for Revenge of the Sith because as a kid when it came out, and I do like Force Awakens, even though it's just fan service.
Yeah.
The other 2 sequels, less said about them the better.
Yeah, so do not speak of those.
We do not. Anyway, we will move on to the random question. Harris, we always start with a completely random question. I'll come to Alice first so that she can answer it. Alice, what's your least favourite word? Keep it clean.
Keep it clean. Okay, well, I actually like all the swear words, so I will be keeping it clean.
You do. You are potty-mouthed, aren't you?
I know. Filthy. The one that I really can't stand and that just makes my toes curl is hollybobs. Like when people say they're going on their hollybobs when they're going on holiday. I just want to vomit and then kick them in the face. And oh my God,
what's wrong with you?
I can't stand it. I can't stand it when adults dumb down words. And it's like, going on your hollybobs. It's like, I'm not 4 years old. Like
you prefer Holly Robert.
Holly Robert. Yeah, exactly. Formal. Keep it formal, all right? But yeah, can't stand hollybobs. That's probably my least favourite, but I'm sure if I thought about it, there'd be loads. What about you, Josh? What's your least favourite word?
I mean, aside from all the obvious horrible words that people use and they shouldn't, I don't know. Thinking, going down the same line of thought as you, I really don't like hun.
Oh, yeah, I'm not a hun fan.
I don't like hun. I'm not like, it's like, I don't mind, I don't know, darling.
Yeah, love,
sweet,
babe.
love,
mate.
Yeah, mate, love. Although I have had people get arsy with me, like, have you ever worked in a shop or a restaurant, wherever, and you're like, "Hey, mate," and they literally will go, "Not your mate." You're like, "All right,
really?
all right, sorry, sir. Like, what do you want me to say? What's that
Hello,
about?"
random stranger.
Yeah. Hello, service user. Like,
When I used to work at a restaurant, when I was in Liverpool, there was a time when I remember these guys come in, and I was a little bit tired. I was a bit tiny bit hungover, and I just remember going up to them and was like, "All right, yeah, yeah, can't believe I'm saying this." Oh, so professional of me. You guys here for some scran there, or something like that.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to say it, but it just rolled out, and it's like I just totally forgot my professional etiquette of waiting on, and I just thought, oh yeah, and then I just didn't think about it.
for those who don't know the Liverpool dialect, are you here for some scranlar? Formalised is, "Hello, sir. Would you like some food?"
Yes.
What about you, Harris? Is there any particular words you hate?
Well, there was a word that I've been using because I'm teaching at the minute, and we try and embed English quite a lot. And there was one word that I tried to embed in some of the so I teach music, and then there's one word that I try to use quite a lot in compositional stuff, and it's thematic. I just don't like saying it.
Thematic.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I know it's a nice definition, and it's a nice. I don't know. There's just something about it I just don't like.
Interesting.
I try not to. Yeah, I know. I never really thought about it until it's just one of those things. So that's a word I do not like.
Okay, so we'll move on to talking about this week's film then, which is Independence Day from 1996. So spoiler one is if you're one of the 3 people in the world who hasn't seen Independence Day. Harris, you picked this one. I'm quite intrigued as to why you picked it. So tell the people who don't know what Independence Day is about in 20 seconds or so, and then why did you pick it?
It is a cheesy 90s absolute action thriller. No, not thriller. It's 90s cheese, basically. Aliens can try and take over the world, and we win. And why we chose it, because it's so entertaining. It's quite messy. It's just so fun. It's like patriotic but quite fun. And I don't know, it just kind of always reminds me of summer, back in the 80s.
So in terms of why you picked it, I mean, let's be honest, Independence Day isn't underseen. I don't think many people can say it's underseen. Would you say it's underrated, or is it just you just want to talk about Independence Day?
I think it's more because when you start to delve into it more, you start to find out, when you sort of learn about the continuity of certain, like Star Wars, and there's such a big world there, and there's so much you can take from it, or anything like that, any sort of cult followings these films have. With Independence Day, I just felt like it was never there, and I really think it deserved it, because it was so daft. It really, really was.
Yeah.
And it was so entertaining. And again, I just think there's so many levels of there's just so many things going on. And I know they did the second film, which I won't talk about. And I just felt like it deserved a bit of attention.
So I'll be honest, I haven't seen the second one. I've never got round to watching it. I think, and that's not for any particular reason. It's just never appealed to me to take the time, especially because it's probably going to be clocking up towards 3 hours.
Yeah.
And the last half an hour will be a big CGI blob fest where you don't know what a building is and you don't know what a person is. And anyway, we won't get started down that road. However, I have seen the first one. Of all the films we have ever done, I think this is the least amount of prep I've ever had to do, because I did rewatch it, but I've seen it so many times.
Yeah.
So many times, because I do have a soft spot for this film for all the reasons you've mentioned there. It's cheesy, it's daft, but it's good fun. Alice, had you seen this one before?
I had seen it before, but not since I was quite young. So I do remember watching it a few times, probably when it came out and then for a little bit after, but I probably haven't seen it since I was about 14, 15. So I haven't got to see it as an adult, or, with the brain and with the kind of analysis capabilities that I have now, shall we say. So I was interested to go back and see it, because in my mind, I just remembered it as being a silly sort of but enjoyable, cheesy sci-fi action sort of thing where, yay, America saves the world. But it was, I feel like it was actually done really, really well. And it's a really very well told story, with quite a strong script, which I just wasn't expecting. I thought it was going to be like massive exposition dumps all the way through. I thought maybe, nuances and such in scripts and in character development just weren't going to be there. But it was just, but it's, the overarching thing is quite, it's big and it's daft and it's yay America. But there's a lot going on in there to actually bring that all together in quite a sophisticated way, I thought. And I think it was more sophisticated than I thought. And the fact that it was 2.5 hours, like, didn't really bother me. Like, I felt it didn't really lose momentum all the way through. Like, obviously it starts really, really strong, like with the aliens, like a lot of horror film techniques. You see the spaceship sort of just as a shadow, like coming over the earth, and like things start going wrong, like bit by bit, and you just feel this ominous presence coming towards the earth. And then from that, it didn't drop too much in momentum all the way through, I thought. Anyway, I got ahead of myself a little bit there.
Yeah. Okay.
So, like, Josh, was this the first time you'd seen it in a while, or when you say you had to prep the least, do you watch this like every day? Like, is this your sort of Christmas time film?
It's like it's like Memento or Groundhog Day. Like, I have like I can't remember Independence Day, and I watch it every day. It's part of my routine. No, I hadn't seen it for a while, but it's one of those films where I just seen so many times as a kid. We've talked about it before. When you've got loads of videos and you watch the same videos over and over again, and one of them was Star Wars, and this was one of them as well. And yeah, so I'd seen it loads and loads. I probably hadn't watched it from start to finish for ages, but I still remembered it. I think it's great. I really enjoy Independence Day. But let's come to you first, Harris, because you picked it. So let's break it down. What do you like about it?
For some of the reasons that Alice just said, then fundamentally, we all know it's just like a guilty pleasure, really. It's an absolute. As I say, there's so many layers to it than just the effects, even music as well. I can really appreciate some of the composition, the scoring to it. Like, there's the bit where they're doing the Morse code bit, and then the motif change. It's a leitmotif, and they change to each different, like, the origin of each country they're in, and it just. It's the little things like that just, like, it just so belongs in the 90s. Like, and I think that's probably why the second one, I don't know, it tried to encapsulate some of that, and I just felt like it didn't quite deliver. It's
an event film, isn't it? It's one of those films that comes out, and it's not necessarily once in a generation thing, but they don't come around very often. If you think of the big event films, you've got things like Terminator 2, you've got Jurassic Park, you've got Independence Day. I'd probably say even something like Avatar, and it feels like it is everywhere for a summer or everywhere for a certain amount of time, and then it leaves its mark on culture, on society, if you want. And this is, for me, this is what blockbuster cinema is all about, isn't it? It's a spectacle, it's escapist, it's daft. There's things that we probably all got in our dislikes, but it's all things which we'll come to, that you look at and go, yeah, but it doesn't matter, it's Independence Day. So yeah, that for me, I completely agree with you there. It is cheesy, it is layered, but it's good. I think ultimately it is great fun, isn't it? What do you reckon, Alice?
Yeah, certainly. So the way they construct the story, I think, is really clever. And even though they use quite predictable methods, they do it quite well. I felt a similar way, in Jack Reacher, where they're trying to explain loads of information with lots of images and then other characters describing things. There was some of that going on in here, which means you feel like the techniques, they don't really feel tired, and every time they do it, it feels quite fresh, and the dialogue they use is all quite clever and stuff, and it's really funny in places. Like, there are some really, really good moments of humor. So the character development is something that I thought was really strong. Obviously, at the beginning of the film, it's like we need to introduce all the main characters. So, we get to see the president, we get to know him. You get to know a lot about people quite quickly. It's like, oh, he's got a daughter. Oh, he's got a wife who's maybe a little bit out of town and he doesn't see all the time. He's going through a rough time, sort of publicity-wise. Like, a lot of the newspapers are saying, oh, he's weak, he's old, he's frail, even though he's like, 35 years old or whatever it is.
Something like that, yeah.
Like, it's
there's a lot of characters, isn't there?
There is a lot of characters,
and they all get a little bit of the pie.
Absolutely, all our main ones, like David, who's Jeff Goldblum, who's just brilliant. Steve, who's Will Smith, and they do a really good job of introducing them and of making you care about them really quickly, which I think is a real skill. And something I noticed with Will Smith's character as well. So Stephen, he isn't introduced until quite a bit later than everyone else. Like we sort of go round everyone and we go round them again a few times and then Will Smith comes in. So then I was wondering if they are they intentionally holding that back to be like, wait, it's Will Smith, you know, because he would have just been off the back of like Fresh Prince and stuff. I don't know, you know, what else he was doing that time or if this was his first big one. I mean,
this was his big break.
It was, yeah. So
Yeah.
that all like felt quite exciting and stuff. So I just thought that was all really clever and really well thought out. What about you, Harris? Is that something that you sort of noticed from this?
Absolutely. It's no, I totally agree with that. It's I felt like at the time as well, like sci-fi films like in the 90s, mid-90s were just, I mean, you had Stargate and you had you know, there's quite a lot of serious like
Event Horizon and that sort of thing. Yeah.
And I just felt like you just said, then there's comical sort of bits in it that just, you know, especially when you get older as well, like you start to notice it a bit more. And you're like, right, okay. And I think at the time, I just wanted to see the action, you know, the alien ship come down, do the thing. And I think, it's also interesting to see Jeff Goldblum in that stage, where like Ian Malcolm in Jurassic Park, he was quite serious, wasn't he? But a little also. He was a bit cheeky in Jurassic Park, whereas this one he was just like, "No, I'm dead serious. I'm the computer guy."
Yeah, and the recycling guy, like the guy like caring about the environment, sort of thing. Yeah,
I thought that was just a really interesting aspect because I think the world at the time really knew Jeff Goldblum as something else, and it was I don't know. I thought that was really interesting. Yet also you sort of personified that kind of rock starry sort of thing which he had with Ian Malcolm a bit, and I always thought that really, you know, resonated quite well in the film, throughout the film as well.
He's got so much charisma, hasn't he, Jeff Goldblum? Who do you guys have a favourite character in this?
Oh, Judd Hirsch's character.
Yeah, that's mine.
is
the dad.
Is that Russell?
No, David's dad. I can't actually remember.
David's dad.
Is he actually named? Is it Julius? Is he called Julius? He's quite. I'd say he's probably like one of, if not the emotional heart of the film.
100% agree.
Yeah, so I like him. What about you, Alice? I reckon you're going to say Will Smith.
It is Will Smith, yeah. So I'm just a big fan of him everywhere anyway. And obviously I had the memory of him punching the alien, and that's like quite an iconic part of it. And so you remember that. But the events that lead up to that are quite interesting as well. So he kind of watches one of his best friends get killed, or at least one of his best friends at work, and then obviously crashes down into the desert. And he starts like screaming at this alien, like, fuck you, how do you like that? And all this stuff. And I think watching it as a kid and watching it a bit younger, you think of that as being a bit silly, but actually watching it now, that's him channeling his emotions, like from just watching one of his mates die and him now crash landing in this place with an alien. And I think through that, you feel a lot of the gravity of the situation as well, because up until that point, he's been so calm. Like when the sort of news first breaks about what's going on, his girlfriend, Jasmine, she starts freaking out a little bit and like, oh, should we evacuate? Should we get away? And Stephen's just like, no, there's totally nothing wrong, babe. Like, you just chill out. You go back in there, look after your kid. Don't worry about it. Like, just trying to keep everyone like super, super chill. And then so when you see him lose it like that, it's quite an emotional moment, and you can totally understand where he's coming from. And then he punches the alien, which is obviously very funny. That's what I call a close encounter. You know, it's really funny. And then when he's dragging the alien to the base in that scorching hot sun, and he's just shouting and talking to the alien and stuff, and it makes it funny, but not it doesn't feel ridiculous. I feel like in the wrong hands, that could have just come across as really silly and really ridiculous, but it doesn't. And it's just kind of really funny, and it just works. But yeah, I'm a big Will Smith fan anyway, and I do think his character was pretty good, and he had quite a nice arc as well from start to finish, like with his sort of not difficult relationship with Jasmine, but obviously the fact that she was a stripper meant he couldn't become a space pilot, whilst like he couldn't marry her and become a space pilot, because apparently if you marry a stripper, that goes on your record, so you can't become a space pilot. Don't really get that, but there we go. This is the world we live in. So yeah, I just thought he had a great 2.5 hours.
I totally agree. Like you just said then, actually, it's quite human, isn't it? Like that sort of thing. What would you do in that situation where, oh no, some aliens are here? Like you sort of channel that inner sort of. I
did have a question actually. Now that you've brought it up, actually, Harris, what would you do if aliens landed? If what happens in Independence Day happened now, what do you think the best course of action is and why?
I'd probably go to the top of the live build and with a huge sign and go like, take... No, I wouldn't really.
You'd be one of the guys. You'd be one of the guys who gets blown up straight away.
I'd be like that. Come on. No. I'm not too sure. I would probably go somewhere. I'd probably go to like the Lake District or something like that, and just watch the whole thing unfold.
Yeah, just get a nice seat, right? Have a nice view. Yeah.
I probably would. Yeah, it's ridiculous, but yeah, that's probably what I'd do.
Sensible. Because I was thinking, I was sort of thinking out loud as it was going on. I was like, so these aliens have arrived, yeah. So we can assume that their technology and their capabilities are just way, way ahead of ours. So I feel like the best thing to do would be to just do nothing. You know, don't try and show any aggression and maybe hope that they just decimate a few of the cities and then go away. But then I suppose when he has the sort of telepathic moment with the president sees that they've completely destroyed all these other planets, haven't they? They've completely eradicated them. So that's when he's like, nuke them. So that makes sense. But yeah, I feel like if it's aliens, just do nothing. Just wait and see what they're going to do. I don't know.
So you're watching the film, aren't you, thinking, which character would I be? And I was watching it, I'd love to say I was Jeff Goldblum. I'd love to say I was Will Smith. I'd love to say I was the president. Ultimately, the person I'd be is the guy who's stuck in traffic and just gets blown up halfway through.
Gets blown up, yeah.
Just on the phone, trying to get through to his therapist.
I'd be the guy who, like, you know, at the very start, you know, where he like falls over the golf balls and goes, "Oh, the golf balls! What are they doing?" I just that'd be so insignificant, you know, and just pick up a piece of paper and aliens are coming, by the way, you know.
How do you guys think this is aged? Because I was watching it thinking, and apart from the odd bit, I think it's aged pretty well. I don't think there's much that
I think it's fine.
There's the odd bit when they actually go on the spaceship where there are aliens in like formation, and it looks a bit like a PS1 game. But other than that, it's pretty like the effects are still pretty good, I think.
I think so. Yeah, I think it's the detail was pretty good actually, all things considering. I don't think there's anything. It would look out of place, I guess, if it came out now brand new. Mm-hmm. And when they did Resurgence, there was at times it did lag and it did lack that sort of finish, even though aesthetically it was okay, but it was. I think the crux of the film was I think it has aged all right, actually.
Yeah, I think a lot of the fire effects were still very strong and it's quite menacing, isn't it? Because it's like a wall of fire, basically. Like when they were attacking, where were they? Was it in LA?
America.
Or maybe it was Washington. When they were attacking America.
The only country that matters.
It was just like this unstoppable wall of flame, just completely destroying the streets. So that felt quite menacing. And some of the time, especially nearer the beginning of the film, there was a lot of less is more with the spaceship. So especially at the beginning, where they're just using a combination of shadows and then the reaction of people's faces who are seeing it, they use that to try and convey meaning and to try and sort of get across the horror of the situation. And then as it goes on a little bit, you'd get these sort of point of view shots of people on the ground. So they'd be looking up and it's like they'd be looking in between two buildings. So you're only getting about a couple of inches of spaceship there, but like because it's between these two buildings, it just feels enormous. Then as it goes on, I think, Josh, like you said, the more spaceship you get, sometimes the weaker it becomes. I think the more that the CGI dominates the screen, the maybe more noticeable it is of how it's aged. But for the most part, I thought it was really good, and I didn't think any of it was cheesy. Like some of me was expecting it to be a bit Deep Blue Sea-esque and maybe be like that level of bad, but it just wasn't.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, I think I always remembered the little alien in the bodysuit. I used to think that I looked a bit at the time, and I remember getting the toy when I remember getting it for like my birthday or Christmas, and I used to think it doesn't look anything like it or anything. Like it just seemed a bit naff. But I guess, like, you know, you start to realize it's not really that important. But I do feel that was probably my only slight. The only thing I could really say was if I was in charge of, you know, that's the only thing I'd change. But maybe just something a bit more I don't want to say realistic because obviously that would be silly. Just something a bit more creative, really. I think that's where I would go with it.
Okay, so we'll move on then to talking about things that we might change or that we didn't like about the film. We've already alluded to it a little bit there, Harris. Is there anything else that you would particularly change, or are you just saying, nah, it's a good fun ride and that's that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the focus is obviously, it's how America pretty much saved, the world, really. So I think it would have been nice to have a bit more of a. I know it showed the little bit where you go to they go to the Middle East and then they go to.
No, we'll come back to that.
All right. Okay.
We will. I got something to say about that.
Okay. All right. I'll leave that. Yeah, I think, like Alice said before, I thought the character development was really good to get all 2.5 hours.
There is a lot of films that came after this that tried to do the everyone, multiple characters in multiple places, interweaving them, and it fell flat. Whereas even by the same director, if you watch The Day After Tomorrow, the effects are quite good, and it's another film that was sort of an event film. But there's even bits in that where it's like there's characters that they don't do enough to make you care about. There's emotional beats that don't land because you don't care about those characters. They don't interweave them properly. It's the same with there's another film. It might even be the same director again, 2012, which is it's the same thing. It's like it's a little bit bloated. It's a little bit look at the effects, but nothing else. Whereas I think what they did with this that was really good is they must have started with the idea, but then they focus on the characters, and then everything else is built up from there. Whereas other stuff, you get the impression they've gone. Idea, what historical thing can we blow up and how good can we make it look, and then that's the end of it. Whereas I think this is okay. But anyway, is there anything else you'd change, Harris, apart from the America bit?
Yeah, not so much. I don't think so. I think they had a few. I mean, this is just coming from a sort of musical point of view. I know REM are It's the End of the World. That was the kind of song that went with it, and they had I forgot that blues track that's in it, when Russell comes back from spraying the wrong crop, and I forgot what it is. I think that some more sort of those things, a bit more of a soundtrack, but then that's just that again. That's a bit of a subjective thing, just purely.
Yeah, my biggest issue with that is the opening song wasn't meant to be REM. It was supposed to be Tears for Fears.
Yeah,
because it's in the trailer, and I think that's a much better choice.
No, I absolutely. I know REM was obviously it's it's very it makes total sense. But I think something like that would have been quite nice. I think there's some appropriate songs that would have been quite, diegetically put in there, and it would have actually been quite appropriate. But that's just, it's nitpicking really. So
yeah. Oh, we like nitpicking though.
Yes, why would he?
Alice, pick some nits. What did you get?
Your ones, yeah. You got an infestation again, Josh. I'm terribly sorry, lad.
Listen, I won't wash my hair, so don't try and make me. No, go on. What did you like? What would you change about it?
I do feel like a bit of the representation of people who live in countries that weren't America and some of the locations and stuff.
Let's count them down. So we've got. Sorry, I've got to say,
go on.
The bit. It's a message from the Americans. That bit. Oh, fucking hell! Like that. They're in the. They're literally. I'm pretty sure they're like sipping tea. They're one thing away from like playing polo. Then it cuts to a castle on a rainy mountaintop, and there's some Russians drinking vodka.
Yeah.
And then there's other countries as well. And then at the end, when they brought the ships down, they go to other countries, and they go to Egypt, and they go to Africa, and it's like an African tribe, and it's like I know there are African tribes in Africa, but it's like there are also that's not all Africa. like such a I suppose it's just stereotypes, isn't it?
No. I used to. Me and my brother we used to laugh about that, and we used to think, well, why is it just like shoehorn these like?
it was.
Like,
wasn't
get them in there. Yeah. It's like that represents that continent, so let's just go for that one, and then we'll get that one, and then there's that one, and then it's just it was a little bit, as I mentioned before, doing the leitmotifs where for each music when they're in when they're showing the British and they go to the Russian. I thought that was always really interesting. I always thought that transition was quite I kind of liked it, but it's just purely because they kept the sort of the phrase there in the music. Just changed and over again. I always thought that was quite nice to do, but it's it's just horribly,
It's just stereotypes.
Just feels
isn't
a bit lazy. Feels a bit thoughtless. I feel like you could
It's
have
literally cartoon characters.
Yeah, that could have been a bit better, I think.
Well, I was just going to say, I think that's it's one of those things with the Independence Day. I felt like 80% of it was quite like serious and quite like no, it's going to be it's going to be quite gritty. It's going to have all these things, like you say, character, and then but 20% was like, just put a joke in there, just lighten the mood or something like that. And I think at the time, some of those things just, probably haven't aged as well now. And it's maybe, I don't know. I feel like it's definitely, they've gone for that entertaining value, but like, on the sort of comedic side a little bit, and then more on the sort of action side. And I think that was always quite an interesting thing.
I guess it just comes down to how does America view the rest of the world?
Yeah, a little bit like that.
What else, Alice? What else?
Literally just one other thing. So after we see the first kind of explosives and lasers and attacks or whatever it is they're doing that sort of burn down these streets and these whole cities, it's when Jasmine is sort of running away with her kid and their dog, and she, manages to get underneath, or she gets into like a secret section of like the underground tunnel or whatever it is. Anyway, she survives. When she crawls out the next day, there's like 2 palm trees just standing absolutely perfectly. And I'm like, hang on a second. So whatever they've just spit out is hot enough to literally melt concrete. Like the whole city has been flattened, and there was just 2 palm trees there stood completely like untouched. And I was like, nah.
What are they made out of then?
I'm not having it.
make planes out of palm trees.
But
if they're indestructible, then off you go.
Well, I feel like I knew what they were trying to do. They were trying to make it look apocalyptic, right?
Yeah.
So it's like just these 2 trees left. All these buildings have been flattened. There's all this rubble, dead people everywhere, and there's just these 2 palm trees. So I get it. And then the next scene that sort of commences is very apocalyptic. It's making fires out of rubble, and the first lady is, sort of bleeding to death on the side of the road, sort of thing. Where are we getting food? Where are we getting water? It's all dusty and fire and dark and all this. So it fits with that, I guess, with that vision that they're trying to create. Is like, this has literally been, and because you've got a countdown as well, so it starts on July the 2nd, it ends on July the 4th. Here is how far humanity can fall in the space of a day or 2. Like, it's such a huge drop from where we were to now what we are, just like trying to survive in the rubble sort of thing. So that's all fine, but nah, your palm trees would not still be standing. Don't believe it for a second.
They must have been looking at it, and I bet some producer somewhere's gone, we've got to show it's LA though.
Yeah.
How are we going to show? How are we going to show it's LA? Well, all the buildings are destroyed. So what else do people think of?
Palm trees.
Rollerblading. Well, we can't do that.
Maybe it was that. But yeah, that was it. I couldn't really come up with much else that I didn't like. Overall, I thought it was a hit, and I liked it more now than I think I did when I was a kid, which is interesting. What about you, Josh? Anything else? Anything else you would change or didn't like?
Obviously, we've already touched on the stereotypes thing, and it's not even that I'd necessarily change that. It's just, if the film was aged badly, that is how.
Yeah,
because it's the representation, the stereotypes are there. But I'm not, it's Independence Day, like we've already said. It's spectacle. It's an event film. However, I thought I'd try and make a note of some of the convenient things that happen in the film.
Oh yes, always fun.
That you think, why has that happened? So for example, would the president be allowed to fly a suicide mission into the aliens? Like, even if they're confident they'd win?
Yeah,
probably not, because they I mean, I know he's in charge, but surely someone would go, nah, because there's no vice president, they've been wiped out, so we sort of do we need a leader? How does Jeff Goldblum find a bottle of whiskey in Area 51?
Oh yeah,
because at one point
he's
pissed. Then he figures out how to beat the aliens where no one else would, because his dad says one thing about catching a cold.
I don't want you to catch a cold.
And he's had a bottle of whiskey. I don't drink whiskey, but I've never had the equivalent
Eureka!
before. I could save the world. How is there a full war room at Area 51? It's supposed to be a science base. how does Will Smith find his girlfriend?
Yeah, how does he like know where to exactly
Oh yeah,
get?
she just lands. Are they just on a rescue
It's just
mission?
there.
Is he just randomly on a rescue mission?
Magnetic.
There are full.
Because he loves her, Josh. That's why. Because he loves her.
Yeah,
Okay.
there are a full team of doctors in Area 51
Yeah.
who treat the president's wife and are like, she's losing too much blood. Wherever you come from, like it's supposed to be a top secret base.
Yeah.
That was and then the other one as well is how does Jeff Goldblum upload a virus without the internet? Like, is he using? Is it like when Nelly and Kelly are using an Excel spreadsheet to text each other?
Oh my god!
Like,
Yeah.
like where? Like, is he hotspotting his phone?
Yeah.
Like, how is he doing it? Because at one point it's like host accepted. It's like, but it's in English. Like what? Like what's going on? But the thing is any massive film, any big blockbuster, you could sit there for days and pick stuff out like that, you know. And there are plenty of YouTube channels and other podcasts that do that much more than we do. But I just thought I couldn't find anything that I liked because I have a lot of affection for this film. And I thought I'm just going to point stuff out then. Okay, so we'll move on then to talking about the critical reception. Now, obviously, Harris, you and the guys, you've picked this because you just want to talk about it, but let's have a look anyway and see how we think it did. Alice, how do you think? How do you think Independence Day did?
So it has got a bit of a legacy. I feel like it is one that most people know the name of. Probably isn't underseen. I would probably give it comfortably like a high 7, like a mid to high 7. I wonder if it maybe. I don't know. I don't know if it would creep up to the 8. So I wonder if that would be a bit too generous. I'll probably say that it got a 7.7 or a 77 on Rotten Tomatoes.
So around
That's
there,
what I'm thinking.
late 7s. Harris, would you agree? Would you agree? Would you go higher?
I think so. I think it's definitely got its flaws, but fundamentally it is. Even though it was quite a strong script, it was the plot and everything was very daft and that. So I agree. I think that's a fair score to give it.
Yeah, and it's one of those films as well, isn't it? Where it's not. It's let's be honest. It's there to make a shitload of money. It's not there to win Oscars.
Well,
it's not gonna win Oscars
because it is very like it's a B movie concept.
Yeah,
but done really, really well.
Yeah, so it's like you say, it's a B movie with money.
Yeah.
So
that's the difference.
Let's have a look. So on IMDb at the time of recording, it gets from a whopping almost over 500,000 votes.
Wow.
It gets 7 out of 10.
Oh.
From an audience score on Rotten Tomatoes of over 250,000, it gets 75%.
Okay.
And from 77 reviews on Rotten Tomatoes from the critics, it gets 68%.
Ooh.
I'm going critically underrated.
I think possibly critically underrated. Yeah, I'm surprised at that. The audience score is probably accurate to what I would
about right, isn't it?
To what I would say. Yeah. I think that is a little bit underrated. Actually,
I didn't think it would be. I didn't think it would be.
No, me neither.
Okay, so there we go. Another one for the underrated vote. Quite a surprise.
I am surprised by that. That's the biggest surprise we've had, I think.
It's up there. It's up there with 0% for Kevin and Perry.
Oh yeah.
which I know 0%. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
So Harris, you and the guys, you've got. I believe you've got an EP coming out. So tell us a little bit about where what we can look out for, what it is, where people can find you, etc., etc.
Cool. So we're doing a self-titled EP. It comes out on the 30th of March. We've actually released one of the singles already, Vagabond. So out on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, all the classics.
all the usual places.
All the usual.
MP3 on mini disc.
Yes.
Doing this.
And where can people look out for your social medias? Is it just at 3 from above?
Yes. So if you go, you can type it into Facebook or you can go into Instagram. It's just 3 from above, not the letter 3. We're all on there. We've also got a vinyl coming out as well, which is really cool. Ooh. Just a 4-track vinyl, which is our very first one, which we're excited about. So we've got a few copies on there. So it's all linked into Bandcamp, and we will be having more stuff. And as I say, we've got a video out for Vagabond, which is on YouTube. It's directed by it was edited by this absolutely talented fella down in London called Tim Stevens. He's really done a great job of it, so please check it out. Fantastic.
Well, we will make sure we put out links to everything when this episode comes out. So some of the stuff will already be out when this comes out, but we'll make sure we put links. So do check it out, because I've listened to it and it's some pretty good stuff. So yeah, check it out. And the guys are they're all lovely guys. So go and give them a listen. You won't
there you go. There you go. You get 5 out of 5 from Josh.
You get the stamp of approval from us. So yeah, thank you very much for joining us, Harris.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks.
So there we go. 3 from above there. Make sure you check out all the stuff. And as we said, we'll put links out when the episode is out. We will be back next week with another underrated or underseen film. In the meantime, if you'd like to get in touch with us, it's filmsandthatpod@gmail.com. We're on all the social medias: Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, etc. Just search for Just Films and That or Films and That Pod, and we will come up. We're on your telly boxes as well.
We are also on the television. So if you live in Birmingham, Bristol, Liverpool, Leeds, or the northeast of England, you can find us on Channel 7 on Freeview. Or if you live in North Wales or South Wales, you can find us on Channel 8 on Freeview. We're also on Channel 195 on Sky. That is the local TV network, and we're on every Friday from 6 p.m. and sometimes Mondays as well. You lucky dogs.
Yes, there you go. You cannot avoid us, much like the film Independence Day in 1996.
Yes, very good, very good.
So yes, all that remains to be said then is, in that case, is thanks very much for listening to this episode. And Alice Oliver, it's been a pleasure as always.
Oh, it has, hasn't it? I've had a blast. Thank you, Josh.
And it's goodbye from me. Cheerio.
Bye.